Good evening again. It's Pinky, and I'm coming to deliver my first episode of Pinky Promise. I tried to do this the other night, and I did. But I was in here recording a Tubi movie, okay? A whole biopic of my life, and it ended up being way too much information, way too much footage, and I just had to revamp, okay? I had to regroup. I had to sleep on it, and I had to come back to my senses. Like, we're not doing all of that. Okay, you don't have no deal with NBC. Okay, you're not coming into a brand new broadcasting program. You're not Sherry Shepherd's protege. Like, where you think you're going with all this footage? I really have a lot of footage, but I plan to cut it up and make it available to you and my readers and my writers and my people that listen to my rants, okay? Because I really do have some good stuff in there, especially stuff about my life, who I am, but we'll get to that because everyone doesn't know me, and I take it for granted that they do. So I was trying to really tell y'all who I am, what I represent, where I came from, but I had way too much information. You know what I mean? I even have what they sang in the choir at church. Okay, but first, giving honor to God, who's the head of my life, my Savior, my Father, my parent, my protector. He leads me through still waters, and He guides my footsteps every day. Trust me, He does, okay? Because He made me special. And sometimes I need Him more than others. I had to put this on because I messed my bangs up this morning trying to be the hairdresser. And major fail. But the second part of this, I'm going to have them off. So that's how you'll be able to tell the difference, okay? Like I said, I tried to do a Tubi movie the other night. I might as well have PowerPoint presentations with slideshows, graphs, pie charts. You know what I'm saying? Like how many bodies I have, how many kids, how many benzodiazepines I've had or abortions. But no, we're not doing that. Okay, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep it short. And y'all going to gradually come into my life. I can't feed you all everything at once. Okay, my daughter once told me, Ma, you are great at everything you do. However, you need to concentrate on one thing at a time, else your anxiety builds up, you get flustered, and then the deck of cards come falling down. And that's something I think about all the time. You know what I'm saying? So, I edited my Tubi movie, and I'm going to feed those things on my Facebook page of the same name, Pinky Promise. I'll put them on there. Of course, I'll post them on TikTok because I really, really love my readers on TikTok. Okay? I tell very graphic stories. My narrative is uncut. I'm very transparent. I've been chronicling my life since Facebook was introduced to me 17 years ago or so. And I just basically like telling stories. I wrote 4 books, and I like, sharing my life with people. My 4th book, I even wrote about Stella, me, how I got my groove back in Jamaica. And baby, when I tell you, it introduced me to YNs. And if you don't know what that means, you got to Google it because I'm not about to tell you. Okay? But these creatures out of the country were very gallant, sophisticated. Economics was a little shaky, but they introduced me to a world of sensitivity. Okay? And they, took some things from me and gave me so much more. Okay, so we're not going to get into that because I do travel a lot, and that'll be another segment on my show. But I tried to put travel life, my education, my work life, my parents. I tried to put cooking, fashion, news, current events, which I call that segment current situation. I even had Nancy Guthrie in there. I had Howard and Amy Luciano. I just was doing way too much the other night. And I want to keep it simple, okay? I just can't do all of that, Sybil, you can't do it, okay? So that's one of my personalities, okay? You'll need about a year or so of hot flashes and hot Henny nights to meet the others. But trust me, you're going to get to them. I am Pinky. My real name is not important. I'm a middle-aged woman, and I don't care what you call middle-aged, but I'm mid, okay? And I live in Brooklyn, New York, in the United States. I was raised in Harlem, but I live in Brooklyn. And everywhere country I go to, especially Jamaica, yes, I live down the block, around the corners from Jay-Z, Bobby Shmurda, Biggie, and Pop Smoke. For the people in back in Jamaica that can't hear me, in Antigua, that's the mainstream hip-hop that they listen to. And they always ask me, do you know them? Sure I do. They're over for drinks all the time. You kidding me? But anyway, that's that. That's geography, okay? I do, and you know, and I tell them guys, I be like, I do know Boys to Men, Bobby Brown, Kid Capri, because I used to work at Motown Records, and they're like, who? Like, they don't really know them. You know what I'm saying? Those are the older groups, you know? But I got accustomed and I got used to these natives. And you know, I've gone a few places a few times. I've dubbed one crew the New Edition. You know, they're like, New Edition? And then they was like, no, BBD. But you know what I mean? Eventually, we exchange cultures. We exchange languages. We exchange good times. And it's always a pleasure, okay? And listen, we're going to get on to a little gossip, okay? Chili, what the hell was she doing? Oh my gosh. One thing about Boys to Men, Bobby Brown, and New Edition, they ain't getting in all that shit. Because they've been touring for like 60 years. They've been consistently getting their money. And they probably like looking at this shit, it's like, oh, is she fucking serious? Major faux pas she did last week or whenever. You know what I mean? One thing I always tell people at work is, you know, for sake of prosperity and peace in the neighborhood, we shouldn't discuss politics because it leads to conversations that are sensitive, that are personal, that may be adverse to your views, and it's just not a good subject to have in the office. Okay, so when she came with that major faux pas she did last week or whenever, you know what I mean? One thing I always tell people at work is, you know, for sake of prosperity and peace in the neighborhood, we shouldn't discuss politics because it leads to conversations that are sensitive, that are personal, that may be adverse to your views, and it's just not a good subject to have in the office. Okay, so when she came with that Walmart foundation, that's what I'm mad at her about, and tried to clean her shit up, and her I'm sorry speech online the other day. First of all, I wonder if she called Justin Bieber and asked him, was it too late now to say I'm sorry? Because she came on with that blonde Paris Hilton attitude, like, I didn't know what I was doing shit. First of all, you have to confirm if you want to repost something most of the times. Second or third of all, if you're not a person that's extremely busy, you're going to look at your page to see how many likes, how many comments. And I just don't buy that whole story of I didn't see it or I didn't know what I was doing. Did you know what you was doing when you contributed to the Political Action Committee 17 times? Was that a slip of the wrist or the click too? You know, I'm just asking for my friends on TikTok, okay? Because we don't know. You know what I mean? But one thing, Boys to Men and all them, they was like, look, keep us out of that shit because it's already damaging Salt's future potential with this concert, which I was interested in. But then when I saw this, I was like, oh, hell no. First of all, y'all ain't at Barclays Center or the Garden because Chili may think that all lives live here and she maybe feel threatened. However, Chili. She's not black. She's caramel, she said, right? Black lives do matter. It's too late for you to backpedal. It's too late to come feed us that blonde girl shit. You need to just have several seats and try again next year, okay? I can't. You know what I mean? Black people are always the first people killed off in movies. You could have kept us living a little longer if you could have just included that word in that blog that they dug up where you would say all lives matter. They all do. But sweetheart, sometimes you got to stick with and that's all I'm going to say. So I'm going to tell y'all what my show is going to be about because I have already exceeded 10 minutes. It's okay, but we're going to go back. We're not having 10 parts like the girls sitting in the cars on TikTok. We're not doing that. The most I want to do is maybe 3 to 4. I'm not trying to lose your interest with the boring shit because that's what I have books for. My books are far from boring, however. They can't put them down, read on a toilet type of books. And if you go to Amazon, you're going to check out my reviews. I did a whole 10-minute expose, maybe 5.5, on my books the other night. So I am going to post that tonight because it was inclusive. It was a part of what I do. So I am going to, and I'm proud of my books. I put my work and my heart, my guts into them books, okay? And that's that. I also am a publisher of books. So if you have a story to write and you want it online and you want it sitting in your hands so you could sell to your community, your family, at the family parties, and get the recognition and the proudness and the pride that comes with being an author, you can call me because I can help you. I published a lot of people's books, and I got into that the other night too, and I wanted to give a shout out to my girl Motown, Monique Jones. I did her first book called entitled Pain, but again, we're going to get into that later. I'm not trying to film a Lifetime movie right now. Tyler Perry or Lee Daniels hasn't called me back yet, so I'm kind of waiting on that. All right, so I edited the short movie. I had like 25 post-it notes all over what I'm saying. Remember the Showtime special Homeland? It was with Claire Danes, who I love. However, she played this character called Carrie Mathison. It was political warfare. She was like this brilliant FBI terrorist type of guru. They sent her to the countries to try to negotiate and find peace. But she was a bipolar woman. And if I tell you, she made being old with stringy hair and bipolar fashionable. Meanwhile, I've been that all my fucking life. I've been talking about my mental illness and my bipolar for years. And this woman just comes and makes it cute now. Talk about entitled. Okay?